Here's your special meal. I know your kind can't afford anything better, so this moldy sandwich should be perfect for someone who doesn't belong with decent people," Jessica sneered, slamming the plastic tray onto Damon Richards' seat table. The sandwich inside was visibly moldy, green spots crawling across stale bread like a science experiment gone wrong. Damon looked up from his laptop, taking in the flight attendant's smug expression. Around him, passengers turned to stare. The businessman in 11A lowered his newspaper. A teenager across the aisle reached for her phone. She stood there, arms crossed, waiting for his reaction, waiting for him to explode, to give her the satisfaction of calling security. Instead, Damon simply nodded and examined the moldy bread with the calm precision of a scientist. Have you ever been so completely underestimated that the person doing it had no idea they were about to end their own career? Flight time to Atlanta. 2 hours, 47 minutes remaining. The moldy sandwich sat between them like evidence in a courtroom. Green spores dotted the bread like tiny accusations. Damon lifted one corner with his napkin, studying it as if it held secrets. "Is there a problem, sir?" Jessica's voice carried that particular tone flight attendants reserved for difficult passengers. She emphasized "sir" like it was a foreign word she'd rather not use. Around them, the cabin had gone quiet. Business travelers pretended to read while straining to listen. A mother pulled her daughter closer, sensing the tension. "No problem at all," Damon said softly. His voice held no anger, no indignation, just calm observation. "Just wondering about food safety protocols." Jessica's smile turned sharper. "Well, maybe if you'd flown first class, you'd get first-class treatment." She gestured at his jeans and Stanford hoodie with obvious disdain. "But economy passengers get economy service." In seat 14C, 17-year-old Maya Chen fumbled for her phone. She'd witnessed discrimination before, but never this blatant. Her finger hovered over Instagram Live. "Some people," Jessica continued, raising her voice just enough, "think they deserve special treatment everywhere they go." Her eyes swept the cabin, gathering silent supporters among passengers who looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Maya hit record. Instagram Live, 47 viewers. "Y'all seeing this?" Maya whispered into her phone. Comments started flowing immediately. "OMG, is this really happening? Get her name tag. This is so messed up." Damon reached into his laptop bag with measured movements. His fingers brushed against a distinctive black credit card. American Express Centurion. The card disappeared back into his wallet before Jessica noticed. "Flight attendant," he said quietly. "Could I have your name, please?" "Jessica Hartwell," she replied with a smirk, tapping her name tag. "Feel free to complain to customer service. I'm sure they'll be very interested in your concerns." The word concerns dripped with mockery. 2 hours, 31 minutes to landing. Maya's live stream was gaining traction. Viewer count, 127. Screenshots were already circulating on Twitter. Someone had started the hashtag #Skyline, Airlines Racism. Head flight attendant Carol Mitchell approached from the galley. At 42, she'd seen every type of passenger complaint. Her practiced smile faltered when she saw the moldy sandwich. "Is everything all right here?" Carol's tone was professional but guarded. "Your colleague served me this." Damon indicated the sandwich without touching it. "I'm trying to understand if this is standard service." Carol glanced at Jessica, who shrugged. "He's been difficult since boarding," Jessica lied smoothly, "complaining about everything." "Sir," Carol said, her voice taking on an edge, "we can't accommodate every passenger preference. If you're unhappy with the meal service, I'm not unhappy. Damon interrupted gently. I'm documenting. Something in his tone made Carol pause, but Jessica stepped forward, emboldened. He's probably going to post some angry review online, Jessica said, loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. You know how they are. The phrase hung in the air like poison gas. Maya's viewer count hit 347. Comments were exploding. Did she just say, you know how they are? Someone get the airline's Twitter. This man is so calm, I would have lost it. In seat 11A, business executive Robert Park discreetly started an audio recording on his phone. He'd flown over 1 million miles and had never witnessed such blatant discrimination. Damon's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Board meeting moved to 4 p.m. All Atlanta executives confirmed. He glanced at the message, then at Jessica's name tag, memorizing her employee ID number visible beneath her name. Ma'am, he addressed Carol directly, what's your full name and position? Carol Mitchell, head flight attendant. And I need to ask you to lower your voice. I haven't raised my voice, Damon observed correctly. Jessica crossed her arms, blocking the aisle. Her body language screamed authority she didn't actually possess. Maybe you should have thought about meal preferences before booking the cheapest ticket available. More passengers were pulling out phones now. Maya's stream hit 623 viewers. The cabin had become an impromptu courtroom, with Jessica as both prosecutor and defendant. Damon pulled out his phone and made a brief call. Yes, it's Damon Richards. I need the Atlanta office prepared for a 4 p.m. arrival. His voice was quiet, but several passengers caught the words. Jessica snorted. Very important phone call, I'm sure. When Damon hung up, his phone showed 17 missed calls from a contact labeled Skyline Corporate Relations. He'd silenced the calls, but the notification was visible to anyone looking closely. A magazine slipped from his laptop bag, Fortune 500's CEOs Under 45 issue. The cover showed various executives, though Damon's face wasn't clearly visible in the fallen magazine. Jessica didn't notice. She was too busy enjoying her perceived victory. Some people, she announced to the cabin, just don't understand how airlines work. 2 hours, 18 minutes remaining. Maya's live stream had exploded to 891 viewers. Screenshots were spreading across social media platforms faster than the airline's crisis management team could track. But Jessica remained oblivious, drunk on her imagined power over a passenger she'd completely misjudged. Damon simply took notes in a leather portfolio, his handwriting neat and precise. Each word Jessica spoke was being recorded, not just by Maya's phone, but by the detailed documentation of someone who understood exactly how corporate accountability worked. The moldy sandwich sat between them, waiting to become evidence in a case that would reshape everything. 2 hours, 18 minutes remaining. Flight Service Manager Robert Thompson's radio crackled to life. Code yellow in economy, seat 12C. Passenger complaints are escalating. Robert sighed, clipping the radio to his belt. At 51, he'd handled thousands of difficult passengers. This would be routine. Side with the crew, de-escalate, move on. He approached with the confident stride of someone who believed he held all the power. Sir, I'm Robert Thompson, Flight Service Manager. His voice carried practiced authority. I understand you're having issues with our meal service. Maya's live stream viewer count hit 1,247. Comments were flooding in faster than she could read them. Manager's here. This is about to get worse. Why is the passenger staying so calm? Screenshot everything. No issues, Damon replied evenly. Just questions about food safety standards. Robert glanced at the moldy sandwich, his expression unchanging. In his mind, the situation was simple. Upset passengers, defensive crew, standard procedure. Sir, while I understand your disappointment, creating a disturbance over meal quality is unacceptable. Robert's tone suggested this conversation was already over. We need to maintain order for all passengers. Jessica practically glowed with vindication. Carol nodded approvingly. They were presenting a united front against this troublemaker in 12C. If you continue this behavior, Robert continued, I'll have to request security assistance upon landing. The threat hung in the air like smoke from a fire about to explode. 2 hours, 3 minutes remaining. Maya's stream exploded past 2,000 viewers. Someone had shared it to TikTok. Screenshots were ricocheting across Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The hashtag has Skyline. Airlines racism was trending in Atlanta, but the crew remained completely unaware of the digital storm building around them. Atlanta Ground Control, Robert spoke into his radio. We may need passenger assistance at Gate B7. Unruly individual in 12C. Damon's phone buzzed with another text, this time from Skyline Corporate, urgent. He glanced at it briefly, then returned his attention to Robert. Mr. Thompson, Damon said quietly. What's your employee ID number? Excuse me? For my documentation. I like to be thorough. Robert's eyes narrowed. Sir, you're not in a position to make demands. The businessman in 11A, Robert Park, had been recording audio for 20 minutes. His frequent flyer status meant he understood airline hierarchy. What he was witnessing felt like watching someone step off a cliff in slow motion. This is escalating unnecessarily, Park said, loud enough for others to hear. The gentleman hasn't raised his voice once. Jessica spun toward him. Sir, please don't interfere with crew operations. I'm observing crew operations, Park replied coolly, and documenting them. Now multiple passengers were openly recording. The situation was spiraling beyond anyone's control, except possibly Damon's. 1 hour, 52 minutes remaining. Maya's stream peaked at 2,947 viewers. Screenshots had reached local news outlets. Atlanta's WSB TV social media manager was already pulling clips for the evening broadcast. Someone had identified the flight. Skyline Airlines Flight 447, Atlanta bound. Damon's phone showed 23 missed calls from Skyline Corporate Relations. The calls kept coming every few minutes, but he'd silenced them completely. A Fortune magazine slipped further from his bag, revealing more of the cover story. Tech Titans Reshaping America. Several CEO headshots were visible, though Damon's face remained obscured. Jessica stepped closer, her voice dropping to what she thought was a private level. You know what your problem is? You people always think you're owed something special. The phrase, you people, hit the cabin like a thunderclap. Maya's comment section exploded. She did not just say that. Get this to the news now. This man's self-control is incredible. Carol grabbed Jessica's arm, finally sensing they'd crossed a line. But it was too late. The words were recorded, live-streamed, and spread virally. Ma'am, Damon said to Carol, I'd like your supervisor's contact information. I am the supervisor for this section, Carol replied defensively. Your supervisor, Damon clarified patiently. Robert stepped forward. Sir, you're disrupting this flight. I'm authorizing a security escort upon landing. Damon pulled out his phone and scrolled to a contact labeled Chen Victoria, CEO. His thumb hovered over the call button, but he didn't press it. Not yet. Instead, he opened his email and began typing. The recipients list was extensive. legal@skylinair.com, customer relations @skylinair.com, executive board @skylinair.com. Subject line, incident report, flight 447, documentation attached. He began uploading photos of the moldy sandwich, screenshots of the crew's behavior, and audio recordings from his phone. 1 hour, 34 minutes remaining. The teenager across the aisle gasped. Maya's live stream had hit 3,400 viewers and was still climbing. Major news outlets were now monitoring the hashtag. CNN's social media team had pulled the video. Fox News was preparing a segment. The story was breaking in real time, faster than any corporate crisis management team could respond. But inside the cabin, the crew remained blissfully unaware they were destroying their own careers minute by minute. "Some passengers," Jessica announced loudly enough for the entire economy section to hear, "think making a scene will get them special treatment." She was playing to an audience she thought supported her. A few passengers nodded uncomfortably, but most looked horrified. Damon's phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Skyline calling. It was a text from Maya, 14C. "Sir, I'm streaming this live. 3,400 people watched. Do you want me to stop?" Damon glanced back at Maya, then typed a response. "Please continue. Truth needs witnesses." Maya's heart raced as she read his reply on her stream. The comments went wild. "He knows he's being filmed. This man is playing chess while they're playing checkers. Something big is about to happen." 1 hour, 18 minutes remaining. Robert made another radio call. Atlanta security confirmed passenger assistance needed at B7. Individual refusing to comply with crew instructions. At Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, security personnel began preparing for a difficult passenger escort. They had no idea they were about to become part of a viral story that would reshape airline industry standards. Damon closed his laptop with deliberate precision. In his leather portfolio, he'd filled 3 pages with notes. Names, times, exact quotes, witness information. Everything he needed for what came next. But he still hadn't revealed who he really was. That card would be played at exactly the right moment. Jessica stood triumphant, completely unaware that she'd just documented her own termination in front of thousands of witnesses. The plane continued its descent toward Atlanta, carrying with it a story that would land far harder than the aircraft itself. 1 hour, 2 minutes remaining. The cabin lights dimmed slightly as the plane began its final descent phase. Passengers started gathering their belongings, but nobody in economy was paying attention to overhead bins. All eyes remained fixed on seat 12C. Maya's live stream had peaked at 4,200 viewers. The chat was moving so fast she could barely follow it. "This is the calmest person I've ever seen. Plot twist incoming, I can feel it. Why isn't he angry? Something's not right. He's documenting everything like a lawyer." Damon closed his leather portfolio with the same precision he'd used for everything else. 3 pages of meticulous notes. Names, employee ID numbers, exact timestamps, direct quotes. Then he did something that made Jessica's confident smirk falter slightly. He smiled. Not the angry, sarcastic smile of someone planning revenge. Something else entirely. The quiet smile of someone who knew exactly what was about to happen. "Mr. Thompson," Damon said, rising from his seat with fluid grace. "Before we land, I'd like to clarify something important." Robert's hand moved instinctively toward his radio. "Sir, please remain seated until we reach the gate." "This will just take a moment," Damon replied, stepping into the aisle with deliberate calm. He walked toward the front galley, his movements unhurried but purposeful. The entire economy section watched in complete silence. Maya adjusted her phone angle to capture whatever was about to unfold. Several passengers leaned forward in their seats. The businessman in 11A stopped pretending to read his newspaper entirely. 52 minutes remaining. At the galley counter, Damon reached into his jacket pocket with theatrical precision. Jessica tensed, expecting some kind of confrontation or outburst. Carol moved closer to the intercom, ready to call for backup. Instead, Damon placed a single business card on the counter, face down. The simple action carried more weight than any shouting match could have. "I think," he said quietly, his voice carrying clearly through the hushed cabin, "there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about who I am." The pause stretched for exactly 3 seconds, long enough for every passenger to hold their breath. He flipped the card over. The silence that followed was deafening. The card read, "Damon Richards, Chief Executive Officer, Tech Forward Industries, Fortune 500, number 47. Jessica's face went through a remarkable transformation. Confident smirk to confusion to dawning comprehension to growing horror in the span of 5 seconds. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish pulled from water. Carol's eyes widened as she read the card, then reread it, as if the words might change. Robert's radio slipped from his nerveless fingers, clattering to the galley floor with a sound that seemed to echo through the cabin. "Tech Forward Industries," Damon continued in the same measured tone he'd used throughout the flight, "is currently Skyline Airlines' largest corporate account. We book approximately 1,200 flights monthly across all our divisions." Maya's live stream exploded. The viewer count jumped to 5,200 in seconds, then kept climbing. "Holy shit, he's a CEO! They're so screwed! Plot twist of the century! I knew something was up!" "Our annual contract with Skyline Airlines," Damon continued, pulling out his phone to display official documentation, "represents $3.8 million in revenue. That's roughly 28% of your Atlanta hub's business travel volume." The numbers hit the crew like physical blows. Jessica's legs seemed to give out slightly. She gripped the galley counter for support, her knuckles white. I didn't," she stammered, her voice barely audible. "You didn't need to know my title," Damon replied with devastating calm, "to treat me with basic human dignity. 47 minutes remaining." The revelation was spreading beyond Maya's stream now. Screenshots of Damon's business card were ricocheting across social media platforms. News outlets were scrambling to verify his identity. Robert finally found his voice, though it came out as a croak. "Mr. Richards, we had no idea who you were." "That's exactly the problem, Mr. Thompson," Damon said, his tone remaining professorial. "Your treatment of passengers shouldn't depend on their job title or bank account balance." He pulled out his phone and showed them the screen. 29 missed calls from Skyline Corporate Relations. 17 text messages marked urgent. The notifications kept coming every few minutes. "I believe your executives have been trying to reach me for the past hour," he observed with understated irony. Carol was frantically scrolling through her own phone, probably trying to access the passenger manifest or contact her supervisors. But it was far too late to matter now. "I should mention," Damon continued, "that I was traveling economy today as part of an unannounced service quality evaluation. Tech Forward conducts these assessments annually with all our vendor partners." The phrase vendor partners hit the crew like a sledgehammer. They weren't just dealing with a passenger complaint anymore. This was a corporate audit that had gone catastrophically wrong. Jessica finally managed to form a complete sentence. Sir, if I had known who you were... If you had known what, exactly? Damon asked, tilting his head slightly. That discriminating against passengers might have consequences. That your actions represent your employer? The questions hung in the air like accusations. 42 minutes remaining. Maya's stream was now being watched by over 6,400 people. Major news networks were monitoring the hashtag. CNN's social media team had pulled clips. Fox Business was preparing a segment about corporate accountability. The story was breaking in real time across multiple platforms, spreading faster than any crisis management team could contain. But Damon wasn't finished. He pulled out his laptop and opened a presentation that made Robert's face go completely ashen. Slide 1. Tech Forward Industries, Skyline Airlines. Partnership, monthly flights, 1,200 annual revenue, $3.8 million, employee travel accounts, 15,000 plus contract renewal date, 30 days. Current partnership, 5 years. Slide 2, corporate vendor requirements. Section 12.4, zero tolerance for discrimination. Immediate contract termination for cause. 48-hour notification period required. Legal liability provisions included. Our legal team, Damon explained. Advancing to the next slide, included very specific language about discrimination in our vendor agreements. Today's incident constitutes what we legally define as cause for immediate termination. The galley had become a courtroom, and Damon was simultaneously prosecutor, judge, and jury. Robert was frantically texting someone, probably his district supervisor or crisis management. But Damon's phone was already ringing. He glanced at the caller ID, then answered on speaker. Mr. Richards, this is Victoria Chen, CEO of Skyline Airlines. I've been monitoring this situation through our social media crisis team. The crew's faces went from pale to gray to a sickly green color. Ms. Chen, Damon replied with perfect composure. I was wondering when you'd call. Sir, I want to personally apologize for what you've experienced today. I've been watching the live stream footage for the past 20 minutes, and this behavior is absolutely unacceptable. Maya's chat went completely insane. The airline CEO is calling him. This is better than any movie. These flight attendants are done. Justice in real time. 38 minutes remaining. Victoria Chen's voice continued over the phone speaker, clear enough for the entire galley area to hear. Mr. Richards, our crisis management team has been tracking this incident since it went viral. We're prepared to take immediate and comprehensive action. What kind of action are we discussing? Damon asked, his tone suggesting he already knew the answer. Full internal investigation, immediate suspension of all involved crew members, comprehensive review of our discrimination policies, and mandatory retraining for all customer-facing staff. Jessica was openly crying now, not tears of remorse, but the desperate tears of someone watching their career implode in real time, broadcast to thousands of strangers. Ms. Chen, Damon said, consulting his laptop screen, Tech Forward's vendor agreement requires more than internal reviews. Section 12.4 specifically outlines our response protocols for discrimination incidents. There was a meaningful pause on the line. Are you saying you're prepared to invoke the contract termination clause? Chen asked carefully. I'm saying I have exactly 48 hours to make that decision. Right now, I'm documenting everything for our legal team's comprehensive review. The power dynamic had completely, irrevocably reversed. 3 crew members who'd spent over an hour systematically belittling a passenger were now facing career-ending consequences from that exact same passenger. But Damon still had one more revelation. 34 minutes remaining. He pulled out a manila folder from his laptop bag. Inside were printed emails, boarding passes, and what appeared to be official tech-forward documentation. "For the record," he said, showing the crew his first-class boarding pass, "I purchased and chose to sit in economy specifically to observe service standards. This was a planned, systematic evaluation." Jessica's face completely crumpled. You were testing us this entire time?" "I was observing how you treat passengers when you believe there are no consequences for your actions." Maya's viewer count hit 7,500. The story was now trending on Twitter nationwide. Hashtag Skyline Airlines. Racism had over 85,000 mentions and climbing. But the most devastating revelation was still coming. Damon showed them his phone screen one more time. A text thread with someone labeled Maya 14C. "I've been in direct communication with your live stream witness for the past hour," he said. "I specifically asked her to continue recording because discrimination thrives in darkness." Maya nearly dropped her phone in shock. She'd been texting with the CEO of a Fortune 500 company without realizing it. "Every discriminatory word you've spoken," Damon continued methodically, "every escalating action, every threat you've made has been documented by multiple witnesses and broadcast live to thousands of people." The crew stood completely frozen, finally understanding the full magnitude of their situation. 30 minutes to landing. "Ms. Chen," Damon addressed the phone directly, "I'll be making my final decision about Tech Forward's continued partnership with Skyline based entirely on your company's response to this documented incident." "What would you consider an appropriate and adequate response?" Chen asked, her voice tight with barely controlled crisis management mode. Damon looked at Jessica, whose aviation career was likely over. At Carol, who'd actively enabled the discrimination. At Robert, who'd threatened him with security escort. "Accountability," he said simply. "Real, measurable, systemic change. Not just public relations apologies." The plane was descending rapidly toward Atlanta now, but the real crash had already happened. 3 crew members had systematically destroyed their own careers while attempting to humiliate a passenger they'd completely and catastrophically misjudged. And every devastating moment had been broadcast live to thousands of witnesses watching justice unfold in real time. 25 minutes to landing. The galley had transformed into a corporate war room at 35,000 feet. Damon opened his laptop fully, revealing a comprehensive presentation that made the crew's situation crystal clear. "Ms. Chen," he said into the phone, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to boardroom negotiations, "let me share some specific data with your executive team." His screen displayed a detailed financial breakdown that would make any CEO pay attention. Tech Forward Industries. Skyline Partnership. Impact. Annual revenue, $3.8 million, 2024 actual. Monthly bookings, 1,200 flights across all divisions. Employee accounts, 15,247 active corporate travelers, Atlanta hub. Dependency, 28% of total business traffic. Contract renewal date, 30 days remaining. Partnership duration, 5 years, 0 incidents until today. Average booking value, $3,167 per flight. These numbers, Damon continued with clinical precision, represent more than revenue streams. They represent trust, reputation, and corporate partnership. Today's incident has fundamentally damaged that relationship. Maya's live stream had exploded to 8,400 viewers. News outlets were now actively monitoring the feed. Screenshots were spreading across LinkedIn, where Tech Forward's corporate reputation carried significant weight in tech industry circles. Robert fumbled for his radio, his hands visibly shaking. Atlanta Control, please disregard previous passenger assistance request for seat 12C. Too late. The damage was already cascading through multiple corporate systems. 22 minutes remaining. Victoria Chen's voice came through the speaker with newfound urgency. Mr. Richards, what would constitute adequate remediation from your perspective? Damon clicked to his next slide with the precision of a surgeon. Section 12.4. Vendor Discrimination Protocol. Zero Tolerance Policy. Immediate Contract Review. Triggered documentation requirements. Video evidence, witness statements, incident reports. Response timeline, 48 hours maximum for initial response. Remediation standards, systemic change, not merely individual discipline. Legal liability, $500,000 penalty clause for contract breach. Reputation clauses, social media monitoring and response requirements. Our legal team included these provisions specifically because discrimination incidents create both immediate reputational damage and long-term financial liability, Damon explained methodically. Today's incident meets every single criterion for immediate contract termination. Jessica was hyperventilating now, gripping the galley counter. Carol had gone completely silent, staring at her phone in apparent shock. Robert was frantically typing messages, probably alerting his entire chain of command to the unfolding crisis. But Damon wasn't finished with his corporate presentation. Financial Impact Analysis. Slide 3. Lost Tech Forward Account. 3.8 M annually. Associated Tech Partnerships at risk. Additional 1.2 M. Stock price impact. Estimated 2 to 3% decline within 24 hours. Legal exposure, discrimination lawsuit, potential damages. Reputation damage, quantified through social media reach metrics. Industry influence, 47. Fortune 500 connections affected. Ms. Chen, Damon continued, our partnership extends far beyond direct booking revenue. Tech Forward's travel recommendations influence 12 other Fortune 500 companies in the tech sector. Today's documented incident puts approximately $5 million in annual revenue at immediate risk. The numbers hit the crew like physical hammer blows. Maya's chat was exploding with corporate accountability advocates and social justice supporters. CEO bringing receipts and data. This is how you handle systematic discrimination. Economic pressure creates real change. Justice through corporate accountability. 19 minutes remaining. Chen's voice carried new urgency and what sounded like panic. Mr. Richards, I want to be completely transparent about our immediate response plan. I'm listening, Damon replied, though his tone suggested deep skepticism about corporate promises. Effective immediately upon landing. Jessica Hartwell is terminated for discriminatory conduct and violation of company policy. Carol Mitchell is suspended without pay pending mandatory sensitivity training and performance review. Robert Thompson is being demoted from management position and required to complete comprehensive bias interruption certification. The crew heard their professional fates decided in real time, broadcast to thousands of viewers. But Damon shook his head slowly. Individual discipline doesn't address systemic issues, Ms. Chen. What about comprehensive policy changes? He clicked to another slide that clearly outlined his expectations. Required systemic changes, zero-tolerance discrimination policy with immediate termination procedures, real-time passenger feedback system, accessible via mobile app, quarterly bias, interruption training for all customer-facing staff, monthly diversity and inclusion metrics published publicly, independent oversight committee, including community representatives, $100,000 annual diversity scholarship fund, partnership with civil rights organizations for ongoing consultation. These aren't suggestions or requests, Damon clarified with steel in his voice. They're non-negotiable requirements for contract continuation. 16 minutes remaining. Victoria Chen paused, clearly consulting with her crisis management team in the background. Mr. Richards, implementing those changes system-wide would require significant resources, budget allocation, and timeline adjustments across our entire operation. The timeline is completely non-negotiable, Damon replied firmly. Tech Forward's contract renewal decision happens in exactly 30 days. These changes must be operational and demonstrably effective before that deadline. Maya's viewer count hit 9,200. The story was now trending simultaneously across Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. Corporate executives across multiple industries were watching this real-time case study in accountability. Robert finally found his voice, though it came out as a whisper. Sir, surely you understand that corporate policies of this magnitude take months or even years to implement properly. Damon turned his calm, devastating gaze on Robert. Mr. Thompson, you and your crew had absolutely no problem implementing discrimination quickly and efficiently for over an hour. I expect exactly the same speed and efficiency for implementing equality and justice. The observation was devastating in its simplicity and logic. Corporate leverage. Slide 4. Damon displayed Tech Forward's broader influence network. Board positions held by executives. 23 major corporations. Annual Atlanta Tech. Summit. 50,000 industry attendees. Corporate partnerships affecting airline vendor selections. 15 companies. Social media reach. 2.3 million followers across all platforms. Industry awards and recognition programs. 12 annual events. Venture capital connections. $2.8 billion in influenced funding. Ms. Chen, Tech Forward's influence extends far beyond our direct travel budget. Our executive team's recommendations carry substantial weight with dozens of other major corporate accounts. The implication was crystal clear. This incident could trigger a massive cascade of contract losses across the industry. 13 minutes remaining. Chen's voice returned with new determination and urgency. Mr. Richards, I am prepared to authorize immediate implementation of all your requirements, but I need your commitment to work collaboratively with us during this transition period. That depends entirely on measurable, documented results, Damon replied without hesitation. Corporate words and promises are insufficient. I need concrete, verifiable actions within 48 hours. He clicked to his final slide. 48-hour, non-negotiable requirements. Public apology, acknowledging systemic discrimination issues. Detailed explanation of fired crew member terminations and reasoning. Complete new policy draft, with specific implementation timeline. Community oversight committee formation with named participants. $100,000 donation to racial equality and civil rights organizations. Third-party audit of current discrimination complaint procedures. These deliverables are completely non-negotiable, Damon stated with finality. Failure to meet any single requirement triggers immediate contract termination and public disclosure of this incident. Jessica was openly sobbing now, understanding that her career in aviation was definitively over. But Damon wasn't targeting her personally anymore. This had evolved into something much larger: systemic change. 10 minutes remaining, Maya's live stream was approaching 10,000 viewers. Major news networks were preparing prime-time segments. The story was becoming a real-time case study in corporate accountability that would be studied in business schools. "Mr. Richards," Chen said carefully, "your requirements are extensive and demanding, but we're fully committed to meeting every single one of them." "Commitment is insufficient," Damon replied bluntly. "I need execution, documentation, and verification." He pulled out a thick legal document from his briefcase. "This is Tech Forward's vendor termination notice, pre-signed by our legal team and ready for immediate filing. I can submit it within minutes of landing if necessary." The document was real, official, and terrifying in its potential implications. Robert's phone was buzzing constantly now. Probably every executive in Skyline's corporate hierarchy desperately trying to understand how a routine flight had become a full-scale corporate crisis. 7 minutes remaining. "Ms. Chen," Damon continued, "I want to be absolutely clear about something important. This isn't about personal revenge or individual punishment. It's about corporate accountability and systemic change. Your crew's behavior today reflects deep-rooted issues that require comprehensive solutions." Maya's comments were now dominated by corporate leaders, diversity advocates, and business school professors. This is masterclass in using economic privilege for social justice. Economic pressure creates lasting systemic change. More Fortune 500 CEOs need to see this approach. Documentation and evidence-based accountability. Chen's voice carried new resolve. "Mr. Richards, you have my personal guarantee and the full weight of Skyline's executive board that every requirement will be met within your specified timeline." "Personal guarantees from corporate executives are historically worthless," Damon replied with brutal honesty. "I need legally binding commitments with specific penalty clauses and enforcement mechanisms." He was operating at a level of corporate negotiation that the crew couldn't even begin to comprehend. 4 minutes to touchdown. The plane was on final approach, but the real landing had already happened. 3 crew members had systematically crashed their careers, while a Fortune 500 CEO had methodically dismantled their employer's discriminatory practices. "Final offer, Ms. Chen," Damon said with finality. "Meet every requirement within 48 hours, implement all systemic changes within 30 days, and Tech Forward continues the partnership. Fail any single component, and we terminate immediately with full public disclosure." "Completely agreed," Chen replied without hesitation. "Excellent," Damon said, closing his laptop with satisfaction. "I'll expect your first detailed progress report tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern." Maya's stream had become a real-time masterclass in how individual discrimination incidents could trigger massive corporate accountability measures. Jessica sat slumped in the galley, finally understanding that her personal prejudice had cost her everything. But more importantly, it had forced an entire corporation to confront its systemic biases. The plane touched down at Atlanta carrying more than just passengers. It carried a story that would reshape industry standards for years to come. Touchdown. Hartsfield-Jackson, Atlanta International Airport. As the aircraft rolled toward the gate, Damon gathered his materials with the same calm precision he'd maintained throughout the entire flight. He'd successfully transformed personal humiliation into corporate transformation, using strategic economic leverage to create systemic change that would protect countless future passengers from similar discrimination. The quiet power of strategic thinking had proven infinitely more effective than any angry confrontation ever could. 24 hours later, Skyline Airlines corporate headquarters. Victoria Chen stood before a packed conference room of executives, legal counsel, and crisis management specialists. Her phone showed 47 missed calls from board members, investors, and media outlets. The hashtag Skyline Accountability had exploded overnight, reaching 2.3 million mentions across social platforms. Status report, Chen demanded. Jessica Hartwell's termination is effective immediately, reported HR Director Sarah Kim. Carol Mitchell suspended without pay pending completion of comprehensive bias training. Robert Thompson demoted to senior staff with mandatory certification requirements. But individual consequences were just the beginning. Public accountability, 18 hours after landing. Skyline's official statement appeared across all corporate channels. Skyline Airlines apologizes unreservedly to Mr. Damon Richards and all passengers who witnessed discriminatory behavior on Flight 447. The actions of our crew members violated our core values and federal anti-discrimination laws. We take full responsibility and are implementing immediate systemic changes. The statement included video footage from Maya's live stream, making the discrimination undeniably public. Stock markets responded immediately. Skyline's share price dropped 2.1% in pre-market trading, wiping out $180 million in market value. But something unexpected happened next. Corporate transformation accelerated. Within 36 hours, Skyline had launched the most comprehensive anti-discrimination program in aviation history. 1. Zero-tolerance policy. Implementation. Immediate termination for any discriminatory behavior. No warnings, no second chances. Documentation requirements for all passenger interactions. 2. Real-time accountability system. Mobile app, allowing instant passenger feedback. Anonymous reporting mechanisms for crew concerns. Live monitoring by customer service supervisors. 3. Mandatory training revolution. Quarterly bias interruption workshops for all staff. Unconscious bias. Recognition certification required customer service evaluations tied directly to diversity metrics. Maya's platform explodes. The teenager who'd live-streamed the incident gained 340,000 new followers overnight. Her documentation had become a catalyst for industry-wide change. Major news networks featured her footage. The NAACP invited her to speak at their national convention. Harvard Business School requested permission to use her video in case studies. "I just hit record," Maya told CNN. "Mr. Richards did all the real work." Systemic changes. Rollout. Week 1. Skyline partnered with the Southern Poverty Law Center for ongoing consultation. Week 2. A $100,000 scholarship fund established for underrepresented students in hospitality management. Week 3. Independent oversight committee formed, including community leaders, civil rights attorneys, and diversity experts. Month 1. Public diversity metrics dashboard launched, showing real-time data on complaints, resolutions, and staff training completion rates. The ripple effect spreads. Other airlines began proactively implementing similar policies. American Airlines announced enhanced bias training. Delta launched an anonymous discrimination reporting app. United partnered with civil rights organizations for policy consultation. The entire industry was transforming to avoid becoming the next viral discrimination story. Tech Forward's decision. Damon Richards called Victoria Chen exactly 30 days after Flight 447. "Ms. Chen, I've reviewed your implementation progress." "And?" Chen asked, her voice tight with anxiety. Tech Forward is renewing our partnership contract. The relief in Chen's voice was audible. Thank you, Mr. Richards. We've learned invaluable lessons. More importantly, Damon replied, you've created measurable change. That's what matters. Personal transformation. Jessica Hartwell, now unemployed and unemployable in aviation, underwent a profound personal reckoning. She entered therapy, volunteered with diversity organizations, and began speaking at bias recognition seminars. I thought I wasn't racist, she told a community workshop 6 months later. But my actions proved otherwise. Confronting that truth was the hardest thing I've ever done. Her public journey from perpetrator to advocate became part of Skyline's training materials. Industry recognition. The Aviation Industry Association named Skyline's transformation program the gold standard for discrimination prevention. Their policies were adopted by 17 other carriers within 6 months. Wall Street analysts noted something remarkable. Skyline's stock not only recovered, but rose 3.2% above pre-incident levels. Investors valued companies with strong accountability measures. Academic impact. Harvard Business School, Wharton, and Stanford began teaching the Flight 447 case study in their ethics and leadership programs. The incident demonstrated how individual discrimination could trigger systemic corporate change. Business schools worldwide used Maya's footage to illustrate the power of documentation and the speed of social media accountability. Legal precedent. The incident influenced federal transportation policy. The Department of Transportation began requiring airlines to report discrimination complaints and resolutions publicly. Tech Forward's vendor contract language became a template for other Fortune 500 companies seeking to enforce anti-discrimination policies with business partners. The measurement of success. 6 months after Flight 447, Skyline's discrimination complaints dropped 78%. Customer satisfaction scores among passengers of color increased by 34%. Employee diversity training completion reached 100% across all departments. Most importantly, no similar incidents occurred system-wide. Damon Richards had achieved something remarkable, transforming personal humiliation into industry-wide reform through strategic economic pressure, rather than legal action or public outrage. The quiet power of accountability had proven more effective than any lawsuit could have been. 1 year later, Tech Forward Industries' annual conference. Damon Richards stood before 15,000 tech leaders in Atlanta's Georgia World Congress Center. His keynote speech wasn't about artificial intelligence or market disruption. It was about dignity. Real-life stories teach us that power isn't about position, he began. It's about purpose. When we witness injustice, we have a choice: stay silent or create change. In the audience, Maya Chen, now a freshman at Spelman College on a Tech Forward scholarship, live-streamed his speech to 89,000 followers. Her platform had evolved into a powerful voice for corporate accountability. The transformation sparked by Flight 447 had exceeded every expectation. The legacy lives on. Skyline. Airlines became the most diverse major carrier in America. Their bias interruption training program was licensed to 47 companies across multiple industries. Employee satisfaction reached all-time highs. Jessica Hartwell, after completing 200 hours of diversity training, now leads bias recognition workshops for hospitality workers nationwide. Her journey from perpetrator to advocate had become one of the most compelling, touching stories in corporate accountability. I destroyed my own career through prejudice, she told audiences. But Mr. Richards' response taught me that mistakes can become opportunities for growth. Measuring real change. The numbers spoke volumes. Airline discrimination complaints dropped 67% industry-wide. 23. Fortune 500 companies adopted tech-forward's vendor accountability language. Maya's documentation methods were taught in 156 journalism schools. Skyline's diversity metrics became the gold standard for transportation companies. But the most important measurement was simpler. Passengers of all backgrounds now traveled with dignity. The broader movement. These black stories of quiet resistance had inspired similar accountability efforts across industries. Hotel chains implemented real-time discrimination reporting. Retail companies adopted bias interruption training. Restaurant groups established oversight committees. Economic pressure, it turned out, created lasting change faster than lawsuits or protests. Personal reflections. I could have responded with anger, Damon reflected in interviews. Instead, I chose strategy. Anger fades, systems endure. His approach had become a blueprint for transforming discrimination incidents into opportunities for systemic reform. Maya's documentation proved that individual voices, amplified by technology, could hold corporations accountable in real time. The power of preparation. Damon's success wasn't accidental. Years of experiencing discrimination had taught him to document everything, understand corporate structures, and leverage economic relationships strategically. Preparation meets opportunity, he often said. When discrimination occurs, we must be ready to respond effectively. Values that endure. The Flight 447 incident demonstrated that dignity, documentation, and strategic thinking could overcome institutional bias. It proved that individual actions could trigger systemic transformation. Most importantly, it showed that justice doesn't always require courtrooms. Sometimes it requires boardrooms. Your voice matters. These life stories remind us that change happens when ordinary people refuse to accept discrimination as normal. Every documented incident, every shared video, every corporate contract can become a tool for transformation. Join the movement. Have you witnessed discrimination in your workplace, during travel, or in daily life? Your documentation could prevent others from experiencing the same treatment. Share your story in the comments below. Your experience matters. Your voice can create change. Hit that subscribe button for Black Voices Uncut to see more stories of quiet strength overcoming systemic barriers. Share this video if you believe accountability should have consequences. Like this content if you support using economic pressure to create social change. Together, we can make discrimination too expensive for any business to afford. Because when Black voices remain uncut, systems change. When systems change, everyone benefits. Your story could be next. Your voice could spark the transformation someone else desperately needs. The power is in your hands. Use it. Go back to where you came from. You're not wanted here. Sergeant Rick Bowden stands over Paige Sullivan at Oakmont Park. She's a Black woman having a picnic with her 6-year-old twins, Caleb and Zoe. "Officer, this is a public park," Paige says. "Someone called, said a Black woman is acting suspicious here, looking around constantly, taking pictures." Bowden's hand moves to his weapon. "You match that description perfectly. I'm watching my own children play. Stand up now." Steel handcuffs snap around Paige's wrists before she can protest. Click. Her twins start screaming. Her phone falls and shatters on concrete. White families at other tables pull out their phones. They record everything but don't help. Bowden speaks into his radio. "Suspect detained." Paige stays calm. She watches 3 Black SUVs entering the parking lot. Nobody else notices them yet. She counts down silently. 3, 2, 1. This cop has no idea who he just arrested. Never mess with a Black queen holding all the cards. 45 minutes earlier. Paige Sullivan pulls into Oakmont Park's parking lot with Caleb and Zoe bouncing in the back seat. To anyone watching, she's just another mom planning a Saturday picnic. Jeans, university hoodie, sunglasses, nothing special. But Paige isn't here for the playground. She scans the area as she unloads the cooler. Exits, sightlines, civilian density. Her eyes map everything in seconds. North Pavilion. That's where Kenneth Marsh, corrupt city councilman, will meet his dirty lawyer in 20 minutes. Paige sets up near the playground. Perfect vantage point. "Mommy, can we play?" Zoe tugs her hand. "Go ahead, baby. Stay where I can see you." The twins run off. Paige pulls out her phone, appears to scroll social media. She's actually coordinating with her team. "Team 1 in position," a voice whispers through her hidden earpiece. 2 agents jog past, dressed as a couple. "Team 2 ready." Ice cream truck pulls up near the pavilion. "Team 3 set." Grounds worker rakes leaves, eyes on the target zone. Paige texts. "All clear, wait for my signal. She's FBI special agent in charge. This surveillance took 8 months to set up. 19 people are about to go down for corruption. But nobody here knows that. To them, she's just a black woman in the wrong neighborhood." Across the park, Sergeant Rick Bowden starts his patrol. 48 years old, 22 years on the force. 3 excessive force complaints, all dismissed. He drives past families, waves at the white ones, ignores the few others. Then he sees Paige. His eyes linger. She's the only black woman in this section. He circles once, twice, watching. Paige notices but doesn't react. She's seen this before. A white woman, Diane Walker, approaches Bowden's patrol car, pointing at Paige. "Officer, that woman over there." Diane's voice carries anxiety and certainty. She keeps looking around, taking pictures on her phone. Near the children. Bowden's partner, Officer Bennett, 28 and still idealistic, leans forward. "Ma'am, she's just on her phone. Lots of people—" "We check it out," Bowden interrupts. "Protocol." Bennett hesitates. "Rick, she's clearly just—" "I said we check it out." Paige sees them approaching. She pockets her phone smoothly, keeps her hands visible, body language open, non-threatening. "Visual contact," her team leader whispers through her earpiece. "Stay cool, boss." Paige's pulse stays steady. She's run hostage negotiations, interrogated cartel bosses. 2 small-town cops don't scare her, but her twins are here. Bowden's hand rests on his holstered weapon as he walks toward her table. Paige knows exactly how this goes, but today she chooses differently. Bowden's certain he's doing the right thing. 22 years on the force. He knows trouble when he sees it. This woman doesn't fit. Wrong neighborhood, wrong park. Wrong skin color for Oakmont's family area. Experience, pattern recognition, keeping the community safe. He approaches the picnic table, shoulders squared. "Ma'am, we've received a report about suspicious activity." Paige looks up, unnervingly calm. "I'm having a picnic with my children, officer." She gestures to Caleb and Zoe at the playground. "You've been on your phone a lot. Taking pictures? Texting my family." Paige offers her phone. "Would you like to see?" Bowden doesn't take it, never does. "What are you doing in this neighborhood?" Bennett shifts uncomfortably behind him. "Rick," he says quietly, "come on, we're hunting ghosts here." Bowden ignores him. "I asked you a question, ma'am." Paige's voice stays level. "Enjoying a public park. Is there a law against that?" Bennett tries again, louder this time. "Sarge, she's just having lunch with her kids. I'll handle this, Bennett." Paige has been here before. Different city, different uniform. Same script, same assumptions. She chooses calm compliance, not from fear, but strategy. Her twins are 20 feet away. Every word she speaks is calculated. She could end this now. "I'm FBI. Check your radio." But she doesn't, not yet. Diane Walker appears beside Bowden, emboldened, righteous. "Officer, I'm the one who called. That woman was photographing my son." A complete lie. Bowden's demeanor shifts. Suspicious becomes accusatory. "I need to see your ID." Paige pulls out her driver's license. Just her name, Paige Sullivan, and address. No badge, no federal credentials. Bowden runs it. Clean. No warrants. No record. It should end here. Bennett steps forward. "Rick, she's clear. There's nothing." "I decide when we're done, Officer Bennett." Bowden's voice hardens. "You got a problem with that?" Bennett's jaw clenches. He steps back. But his eyes tell Paige everything. "I'm sorry. I can't stop this. Paige makes eye contact with her jogger couple agents across the park. She touches her earlobe twice, the signal. Hold position, do not intervene yet. She wants to see how far this goes, how far Bowden will push, how much evidence she can gather. Caleb and Zoe stop playing. They've seen Mommy pulled over before. They know what comes next. Zoe's small voice carries. Mommy? Bowden's pride won't let him walk away, and Paige knows it. Empty your bag. Bowden's order cuts through the afternoon air. Paige complies without argument. She pulls items out one by one. Children's snacks, sunscreen, water bottles, a tablet for the twins, her wallet, chapstick, then a small black case. What's that? Personal items, Paige says. Open it. Paige's fingers pause on the zipper. Inside, FBI credentials, badge, a citation from the Director for Exceptional Service. She could end this right now. She zips it closed. I don't consent to a search without probable cause. Bowden's face goes red as a firecracker. This woman, this suspect, is quoting law at him, challenging him. In front of witnesses, in front of Bennett, who's already questioning everything. Officer safety concerns, Bowden announces. Step away from the table. Stand over there. Bennett moves closer. Rick, this is excessive. Note your objection and stand down, Officer Bennett. Bennett's jaw tightens, but he steps back. Other parkgoers stop and stare. Phones come out, recording, always recording now. Diane Walker watches from a distance, satisfied she was right to call. Hands on the table. Paige complies. Bowden performs a pat-down, hands rougher than necessary. Humiliation as performance. Her twins watch their mother treated like a criminal. Caleb drops his toy truck. Leave my mom alone! His 6-year-old voice cracks. A white father at a nearby table stands. Officers, this seems unnecessary. Bowden whips around. Sir, step back or you're obstructing an investigation. The man sits down. Nobody else moves. Paige's mind works like ice. Every second is being recorded. By civilians. By her team's surveillance equipment. She's building a case. Against Bowden. Against the system that created him. Her rage is cold, controlled, calculated. She thinks of every black parent who's endured this without her resources, without her badge, without justice waiting. 6 words. That's all it takes. I'm FBI. Check your radio. But she doesn't say them. Bowden feels powerful. The crowd validates him. He needs to prove he was right to stop her. Every challenge she makes, every calm word, it all makes him push harder. Paige's phone rings. Loud, insistent. Bowden picks it up. Screen reads, Director Davis. That's my boss, Paige says quietly. Bowden rejects the call. You can call back from the station. Bennett steps forward, genuinely alarmed. Sarge, we haven't actually, there's no probable cause for... She's being detained for investigation. Of what? Bowden doesn't answer. He makes the decision that will haunt him forever. We're transporting her. Officer safety, I'm placing her in handcuffs. Bennett's face goes pale. Rick, I can't be part of... Then don't. Bowden pulls out his cuffs. The crowd gasps. Someone shouts in protest. Paige's team leader speaks through her earpiece. Boss, say the word. We shut this down now. Paige barely moves her lips. Hold. She extends her wrists. Doesn't resist. The steel bites cold against her skin. Click, lock. Caleb and Zoe scream. Gloria Hayes, an older black woman from another table, rushes over. I'll stay with your babies, honey. Paige nods, throat tight. Her children's faces, red as firecrackers streaked with tears, will haunt her dreams for months. The cuffs are on, and Paige's gamble is now irreversible. Paige sits on the curb, hands cuffed behind her back. Steel digs into her wrists. 10 feet away, Caleb and Zoe sob in a stranger's arms. The older black woman who stepped forward when nobody else would. This moment crystallizes everything. Paige thinks of her mother, pulled over 17 times in 3 years, always polite, always terrified. Her brother, arrested at 19 for matching a description. 6 hours in a cell, no apology. The FBI recruiter who said, people like you don't usually make it through Quantico. Every black parent who's had the talk with their kids. Keep your hands visible. Don't make sudden movements. Come home alive. This isn't about her anymore. It's about Caleb and Zoe watching their mother criminalized for existing. It's about Bowden facing 0 consequences because he never has before. Paige makes a silent vow. This ends today, for all of us. Bennett approaches while Bowden radios dispatch. The young officer crouches beside her, face pale. I'm sorry, he whispers. This isn't right. Is there someone I can call? Page studies him. 28. New enough to still have a conscience. Old enough to know what speaking up costs. My phone. There's a contact, Director Davis. Tell him Page's location, nothing else. Bennett's eyes widen. Director? He nods. He retrieves her cracked phone, hands shaking, finds the name, hits call, one ring. Director Davis, sharp, authoritative. Page's location. Bennett hangs up. Then he Googles her name. FBI Special Agent in Charge. Counterterrorism Operations. Public Corruption Task Force. His face drains of color. He just helped the FBI. Bowden's backup arrives, 2 more patrol cars. He intercepts them, voice urgent. Black female, suspicious behavior, refused cooperation, possibly casing the area. One officer looks at Page sitting calmly, then at her crying children, then at the crowd recording. What's the actual charge, Rick? Bowden's jaw tightens. Disorderly conduct. Resisting. She resisted? Verbally. The officer's skepticism shows, but he doesn't push. Across the park, Kenneth Marsh shakes hands with his lawyer. An envelope changes hands. Page's team captures everything. The councilman walks to his car unaware he's about to be arrested. Mission accomplished. But Page's focus has shifted. The crowd grows. A local activist live streaming on her phone. Y'all seeing this? Black woman, handcuffed, for having a picnic. This is 2025 and this is still happening. 200 viewers in 30 seconds. 400, 800. Diane Walker tries to slip away. The older black woman blocks her path. You're going to watch what you started. Diane stays, face flushed. Bennett walks back to Bowden, phone in hand. His voice is quiet. Rick, I really think we should reconsider. Get the crowd under control, Bennett. That woman is... I don't care who she thinks she is. She's going to the station. Bennett steps back. He's done what he can. Now he waits. Page's earpiece crackles. Boss, Director Davis is en route. ETA 8 minutes. Your call. She doesn't respond. Just watches Bowden organize her transport. Help is coming. But will it arrive before they take Page away? Get her in the car. Bowden's order echoes like thunder across the park. 2 officers move toward Page. She stands, hands cuffed behind her back. They guide her toward the patrol car, a slow walk of humiliation past her screaming children. Mommy! Mommy! Caleb's voice cracks with desperation, raw, broken. The crowd swells. 50 people, 70, 100, phones everywhere, raised high, recording from every angle like a jury of witnesses. Someone starts chanting, "Let her go!" Others join. The voices build, merge, become a roar. "Let her go! Let her go!" The sound rumbles through Oakmont Park like thunder before a storm. Bennett makes one last attempt. Sergeant, with this many witnesses, the cameras, maybe we should reconsider. Get crowd control set up, now. Rick, she hasn't actually committed any... That's an order, Officer Bennett. Bowden realizes this might go viral. He's not scared. He's angry. Angry at this woman for making his job difficult. Angry at the crowd for not understanding police work. Angry at Bennett for showing weakness in front of everyone. His internal justification intensifies. She must be guilty of something. People don't act this calm unless they're hiding something. 22 years of experience tells him so. He cannot admit error now. Not here. Not in front of all these people. Page is 10 feet from the patrol car when Caleb breaks free. Gloria tries to hold him, but the 6-year-old is pure adrenaline and fear. He runs toward his mother, sneakers slapping pavement. Mommy! One of the backup officers, not Bennett, intercepts the child, grabs his thin arm. That's when Page's composure fractures. Not into panic, into something colder, harder, lethal. Take your hands off my son! Her voice cuts through the crowd noise like a blade. Level, commanding, final. Now. The officer freezes. Something in her tone carries authority, the kind that comes from leading hostage negotiations, directing tactical operations, breaking cartel bosses in interrogation rooms. Power that doesn't need a badge to be felt. Bowden hears it too. For the first time, real doubt flickers across his face. 3 black SUVs pull into the parking lot. They move with coordinated precision, professional, deliberate, unmistakable. Park in formation, blocking exit routes. Military clean. The crowd notices, phones pivot, the chanting stops. Silence falls like a curtain. Someone whispers, "Who are they?" Bowden is too focused on the crowd to notice, too committed to the arrest. But Bennett sees them. His face goes slack. All color drains. "Bennett, what's with those vehicles?" I don't know, sir. He knows exactly what they are. The SUV doors open simultaneously. 8 people emerge. Dark suits, sunglasses, federal bearing unmistakable even at distance. Paige is at the patrol car door now. Bowden's hand rests on her shoulder, guiding her down into the back seat. The FBI team is 15 feet away, closing distance, walking with purpose. Bowden's about to turn around and his world ends. Step away from her, now! The voice is pure authority, federal, final. Bowden spins around. Special Agent Brandon Cooper stands 5 feet away. FBI credentials held high, badge catching sunlight. FBI, you're currently detaining a federal agent. Release her immediately. Bowden's brain refuses to process it. This has to be a mistake, a prank, someone trying to intimidate him. He's a 22-year veteran. He knows his job. I don't care who you say you are. This woman was... Cooper steps closer, voice dropping. Special Agent Brandon Cooper. That woman is Special Agent in Charge Paige Sullivan. You have 10 seconds to remove those handcuffs before this becomes a federal incident. Other agents fan out. Professional, coordinated. One approaches Caleb and Zoe with a gentle smile, clearly familiar with them. Hey, Caleb. Hey, Zoe. Mom's okay. We're here. The twins recognize her. Stop crying. The crowd realizes what's happening before Bowden does. Gasps ripple through the onlookers. Someone shouts, "Oh my God!" The activists' live stream explodes. Y'all, this officer just arrested an FBI agent. This is insane! Her viewer count hits 3,000, 6,000, 10,000. Bowden's hands shake as he reaches for Paige's cuffs. This can't be real. He runs through the last hour. Where did he miss it? Her calmness, her precise language, the way she never seemed afraid. The handcuffs click open. Paige rubs her wrists, watching Bowden's face cycle through denial, fear, anger, bargaining. She's seen this expression before, the moment someone realizes they've destroyed their own life. She says nothing, just maintains eye contact. Bennett steps forward, voice quiet. I can verify, Sergeant. I called her superior. She's FBI. Bowden turns on him, betrayed. You what? I did what was right. Cooper addresses Paige formally. Agent Sullivan, are you all right? I'm fine. Her voice shifts. No longer the calm civilian, now the federal officer. Secure the scene. I want body camera footage from every officer present. I want witness statements. I want the woman who made the false report detained for questioning. Diane Walker bolts. An agent intercepts her in 3 strides. Ma'am, you need to stay. The backup officers are already on their phones, calling supervisors, requesting union reps. They want distance from Bowden. This is career-ending, and they know it. One whispers to his partner, I'm not signing anything, I just got here. Bowden stands frozen, watching his world collapse. Paige's identity is revealed, but her real power hasn't shown yet. Paige turns to face Bowden fully. The crowd goes silent. Every phone recording. This moment will replay millions of times. Sergeant Bowden. Her voice is calm, steady, devastating. I'm going to ask you the same questions you asked me. Bowden opens his mouth. Nothing comes out. What are you doing in this park? Why did you target me specifically? Do you have probable cause for the detention, search, and attempted arrest? Silence. I'm a federal agent conducting a lawful operation. I broke no laws. I matched no descriptions. I was having a picnic with my children. Her eyes don't leave his. You detained me because a white woman told you I looked suspicious. Do you know what that's called? The crowd waits. Racial profiling, civil rights violation, unlawful detention, assault under color of authority. She pauses. And you did it with my children watching. Paige steps closer. How many moms like me have you done this to, Sergeant? How many who didn't have a badge to protect them? Bowden's silence is answer enough. Cooper hands Paige her bag. She opens the small black case Bowden demanded to see earlier. Inside, FBI badge, credentials, and a citation from the director of the FBI for exceptional service in counterterrorism operations. She holds them up for everyone to see. This is what you would have found if you'd opened it. Her voice stays level. But you didn't want evidence. You wanted compliance. Bowden's career flashes before his eyes. 22 years, his pension, his reputation. He tries to formulate words, an excuse, an apology, anything. I didn't know. You didn't identify yourself. I shouldn't have to. Paige's response is immediate, sharp, final. I was committing no crime. My badge doesn't make me more human than anyone else you've done this to. It just means this time there are consequences. Cooper approaches quietly. Boss, Councilman Marsh is in custody. We got everything. But Director Davis is en route. He wants to handle this personally. Paige nods. This is bigger than Bowden now. She walks to where her twins stand with Cooper's partner, kneels down at their level. I'm okay, babies. Mommy's okay. These are my work friends. We're safe. Caleb's voice is small, broken. Why did the police hurt you? The question hangs in the air. Every camera captures it. Every microphone records it. Paige has no easy answer. That question, from the mouth of a 6-year-old who just watched his mother handcuffed, will become the most viral moment of the year. The FBI director is coming, and he's bringing federal charges. A helicopter descends onto Oakmont Park's athletic field. Rotors kick up dust. Assistant Director Gerald Davis steps out. 56, silver-haired, legendary. 2 federal prosecutors follow. Davis surveys the scene. His best agent with handcuff marks, traumatized children, panicking cops. He approaches Paige first. Agent Sullivan, report. Sir, conducting approved surveillance on Target Marsh. Local PD detained me without cause for 49 minutes. Maintained cover until operational security allowed revelation. Your children? Shaken, sir, but safe. Davis turns to the crowd. Phones everywhere. Good. I'm Assistant Director Gerald Davis, FBI. His voice carries across the park. Special Agent Paige Sullivan is one of the Bureau's most decorated officers. She's led operations dismantling terrorist cells, corruption rings, trafficking networks. She's saved hundreds of lives. Pause. Today she was handcuffed for being black in a public park. Silence. But Agent Sullivan isn't just here for family time. Sergeant Bowden, do you know Kenneth Marsh? Bowden's voice cracks. The city councilman? Corrupt city councilman. Under arrest for racketeering, fraud, conspiracy. Agent Sullivan's operation just concluded successfully. 19 people in custody, 14 million in fraudulent contracts exposed, including 3 officers from your department. Bowden sways. The words detonate. Agent Sullivan has investigated public corruption here for 8 months. Your department's been under federal review for civil rights violations for 6. Today's incident becomes Exhibit A. Bennett closes his eyes. Every officer present will be interviewed within 72 hours. All footage is evidence. The woman who filed the false report will face charges. Diane trembles. Davis reveals key credentials. Agent Sullivan graduated top of her Quantico class. She's led the FBI's Public Corruption Task Force for 2 years. Commendations from 2 presidents. The crowd is stunned. And today, she was treated like a criminal for existing while black. Bowden tries desperately. I responded to a complaint. I followed protocol. Your protocol is racial profiling. That's racism with a badge. It ends today. A federal prosecutor steps forward. Sergeant Bowden, immediate administrative leave without pay pending federal investigation. The Justice Department's Civil Rights Division will contact you within 48 hours. Retain legal counsel. Bowden nearly collapses. Paige steps forward. Director Davis, permission to address Sergeant Bowden directly? Granted. Paige faces him, eye to eye. You asked what I was doing in this neighborhood. I bought a house 3 blocks from here last month. My children will attend school here. This is my neighborhood, and you will never make another family feel what you made mine feel today. She pauses, lets the words land. You want to know what weapon I had, Sergeant? Your skin was the weapon. My skin was the threat. That's all it ever was. Bowden stares at the ground. She turns to Bennett. Officer Bennett, you made the call when it mattered. You chose integrity over loyalty. That's real police work. The Bureau will be in touch. We need officers like you. Bennett's voice breaks. Thank you, ma'am. Paige kneels on the grass, speaking to the cameras, every phone. To every parent who's had the talk with their kids about police. To every person profiled, detained, or humiliated for existing while black. You're not crazy. It's not in your head. It's real. And it has to end. She stands, calls her twins. Caleb, Zoe, come here. They run to her. She holds them as cameras flash. What happened today was wrong, but Mommy's job is to make sure it happens less. You just saw that real power doesn't come from a gun or handcuffs. It comes from truth. The activist's live stream hits 100,000 viewers, 200,000. #Justice for Paige trends nationwide. Bowden stands alone. His partner won't look at him. Backup officers distance themselves. Davis addresses everyone one final time. What you witnessed happens every day in America, usually without cameras, without badges to protect victims, without justice. Today was different. Today, there will be consequences. He turns to Paige. Agent Sullivan, take your children home. We'll handle the rest. Cooper brings her FBI jacket. She puts it on. Walks past Bowden without a glance. He doesn't exist anymore. Bowden's career is over, but Paige's fight is just beginning. 72 hours later, the video explodes. 52 million views, more than the Super Bowl. Hash justice for Paige trends worldwide for 6 days straight. Every major network covers it. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, international outlets. The 10-second clip of Caleb asking, "Why did the police hurt you?" becomes the most shared content of the year. Paige releases one statement. This happens to people without badges every day. My platform is a privilege. I'll use it to ensure systemic change, not just viral sympathy. The police department implodes. Chief Anderson suspends Bowden without pay, promises full transparency. 300 protesters outside headquarters disagree. They want federal oversight. Someone leaks Bowden's personnel file. 3 excessive force complaints, all dismissed. 9 racial profiling complaints, all unfounded. Text messages surface showing casual racism, discussions about keeping certain people out of neighborhoods. Bennett is revealed as the whistleblower. Death threats flood his phone immediately. He's placed in protective custody. 2 senior officers resign. Diane Walker is fired from her tech job within 48 hours. The Justice Department announces a pattern and practice investigation. Not just Bowden, the entire department. Every arrest Bowden made in 5 years will be reviewed. Consent decree likely. Federal oversight for minimum 5 years. Director Davis assigns Paige to lead the FBI's portion. She resists. Sir, I'm the victim. I shouldn't investigate my own case. You're investigating a department, not your case, and you're the most qualified. Davis pauses. Will you let them silence you by making you a victim instead of an agent? Paige accepts. Meanwhile, her corruption operation yields massive results. Councilman Marsh indicted on 46 counts. 3 police officers arrested for taking bribes. Construction fraud ring exposed. 14 million in fraudulent contracts canceled. 2 state legislators implicated. But media focuses on Paige's detention, not her successful operation. Cooper vents. Boss, we just took down the biggest corruption ring in state history. Everyone's talking about Bowden. Paige responds strategically. Then we use that attention. Every interview about Bowden, we mention the 3 cops who were actually dirty. We connect the dots. Civil lawsuits flood in. Paige sues Bowden, the department, and the city. Announces all settlement money goes to organizations fighting racial profiling. Gloria Hayes, the woman who comforted Paige's twins, files a class action on behalf of everyone profiled in Oakmont Park over 10 years. 329 people join within 2 weeks. Federal prosecutors bring criminal charges. Against Bowden, deprivation of rights under color of law. False arrest, assault. Against Diane Walker, filing false police report. Conspiracy to deprive civil rights. Against the department, pattern of civil rights violations. Diane Walker's life collapses. Social media finds her pattern. 4 police calls on black neighbors in 2 years. A delivery driver, a teenager fundraising, a couple viewing houses. She becomes the national face of weaponized white tears. Her apology video goes disastrously viral for all the wrong reasons. Her husband files for divorce. Her consulting business dies. Community changes emerge. Bennett gets an FBI job offer, accepts, resigns from the force. Oakmont Park installs a memorial plaque. Community Oversight Board established with real power. Paige's story inspires 628 black women to apply to FBI, largest recruitment surge in Bureau history. Some officers claim they're afraid to do their jobs. Paige addresses this in an NPR interview. If your job requires violating civil rights, you should be afraid. Good cops should welcome accountability. It protects them, too. The twins struggle. Therapy twice weekly. Nightmares. Zoe won't let Paige out of sight. In one session, Caleb says simply, "Because of our skin." Paige's heart breaks, but he adds, "Mommy fixed it, though. She's a superhero." The legal battles are just beginning, and Bowden's hearing is tomorrow. 6 weeks after the park incident. The Departmental Review Board convenes downtown. 5 board members behind a long table, the room packed. Media, activists, Paige's FBI team, community members. Bowden sits with his lawyer and union rep. He looks smaller, grayer. The swagger from Oakmont Park gone, Page sits in the back, silent, watching. Bowden's defense attorney opens. Members of the board, Sergeant Bowden has 22 years of exemplary service. He followed his training, responded to a citizen complaint appropriately, had no way of knowing the woman was a federal agent. Pause for effect. He never used excessive force. This was an unfortunate misunderstanding blown out of proportion by media sensationalism. Activists shift angrily. Someone mutters, "Bullshit." The chair gavels for silence. The prosecution presents their case. Body camera footage plays. Bowden's approach, his tone, unnecessary aggression during the pat-down. Expert witness analyzes transcripts, comparing Bowden's language with Page versus white parkgoers that same day. The differences are stark, undeniable. Testimony on implicit bias. How it manifests in split-second decisions. Bowden's prior complaints, 3 excessive force incidents, 9 racial profiling complaints, all dismissed. Text messages projected on screens, jokes about certain people, references to keeping neighborhoods clean. Most damning, Bowden's own body camera. Before approaching Page, he tells Bennett, "Let's see what she's really doing here." The tone implies guilt before contact. They play it 3 times. Bennett takes the stand, nervous. Former colleagues glare. He's received death threats. His testimony is unwavering. Sergeant Bowden made up his mind before we approached. I said multiple times we had no probable cause. He told me to learn how to spot trouble. When I asked what trouble, he said, "Look at her. Look at this neighborhood." That's when I knew it was about race. Bowden's lawyer attacks. "You turned on fellow officers for an FBI job. Convenient, isn't it?" Bennett's jaw tightens. "My oath is to the Constitution, not to other officers' racism." Applause erupts. The chair gavels quiet. 3 character witnesses testify. A black man Bowden arrested 3 years ago for trespassing in his own neighborhood. Charges dismissed. Cost him a job. A Latina woman Bowden pulled over 6 times in 1 year. Never ticketed. Just warnings. A black teenager detained for suspicious activity. Sitting outside his grandmother's house. Pattern established. Systematic. Years in the making. Diane Walker testifies under subpoena, terrified, facing criminal charges. Prosecutor: "Why did you report Agent Sullivan as suspicious?" "She was looking around a lot." "Did you see her commit any crime?" "No." "Did she approach any children besides her own?" "No." "Did you report the white man with binoculars watching birds 20 feet from the playground?" Silence. "How is that different?" Diane whispers, "I don't know." Against his lawyer's advice, Bowden takes the stand. Defensive, angry, victimized. "I've dedicated my life to public service, put my life on the line. I've never been racist. I have black friends, black colleagues." Voice rising. "I couldn't have known she was FBI. She should have identified herself." The prosecutor stands, calm, surgical. "Should she have to be FBI to deserve basic dignity?" "That's not what I meant. You handcuffed a woman having a picnic. Ignored your partner's objections, rejected a call from an FBI director, traumatized 2 6-year-old children." Steps closer. "Your defense is you didn't know she was important enough to treat like a human being?" Crushing silence. "How many Page Sullivans without badges have you done this to?" Bowden has no answer. The board deliberates 40 minutes. Findings: Bowden violated policies on reasonable suspicion, failed to de-escalate, ignored partner's objections, demonstrated clear racial bias. Recommendation: immediate termination for cause, state decertification. Federal charges proceed. Pension forfeited. 22 years gone. He leaves broken. No career, no pension, no reputation. Outside, reporters surround Page. "Agent Sullivan, comment on the verdict?" Page faces the cameras. "This isn't about revenge. It's about accountability. Every person profiled, harassed, or humiliated by someone with a badge deserves this outcome." Pause. 1 down. System to go. Bowden is finished, but has anything actually changed? 6 months after Oakmont Park. The scar becomes a statute. Page's handcuffed wrists, broadcast 52 million times, transform into federal policy with teeth. The DOJ consent decree arrives like a judge's gavel. Federal oversight for the department, minimum 5 years. Mandatory bias training where failure means termination, not reassignment. Body cameras that cannot be turned off. Independent civilian review board with subpoena power that actually matters. Chief Anderson retires under pressure. The new chief is a black woman with a reform mandate and community policing background. She cleans house methodically. Partnerships replace antagonism. Transparency replaces silence. Bennett leads the new training division. Every cadet watches the Oakmont Park video. He pauses at the moment Bowden handcuffs Paige and asks, "What should have happened here?" The answers are different now. At the state capitol, legislators debate Sullivan's Law. It requires officers to document specific reasons for every stop, creates a public database, establishes a decertification registry so bad cops can't simply migrate to the next jurisdiction. A conservative senator from rural districts stands to speak. "I've watched that video a dozen times. I kept thinking, what if that was my daughter?" He votes yes. A progressive representative from the city adds, "This isn't about left or right. It's about right and wrong." The law passes with bipartisan support. The governor signs it at a public ceremony. Paige attends but doesn't speak. Her presence is statement enough. Paige is promoted to assistant director when Davis retires. She oversees the FBI's expanded civil rights division but refuses to become just an administrator. She still works cases, still goes into the field. Leadership from the front. In an NPR interview, the reporter asks, "Has your case changed policing in America?" Paige's answer is careful, honest. "It changed one department, influenced others, put everyone on notice. But systemic change takes decades. What happened to me happens to someone else every day. They just don't have my platform. My job is to keep using that platform until every person has the protection I had." Are you optimistic? I'm determined. That's better than optimistic. The ripple effects continue. The black man Bowden, wrongfully arrested years ago, gets his record expunged, receives a settlement, finally gets the job he was denied. The Latina woman repeatedly pulled over becomes the community police liaison, building bridges, speaking truth. The teenager detained outside his grandmother's house studies criminal justice in college now. Wants to be the change. Gloria Hayes starts a support group for families impacted by police trauma, meets weekly at Oakmont Park. The monument Paige didn't ask for becomes a gathering place for healing. The Sullivan Standard enters law enforcement vocabulary. Police academies nationwide use the video as a case study. The Sullivan Standard becomes shorthand for accountability that means something. Companies adopt policies terminating employees who weaponize police against minorities. Walker clauses appear in handbooks. Her infamy becomes a warning. During a team meeting, a young agent asks Paige, "Boss, was it worth it? Going through all that?" Paige considers carefully. "I didn't choose to go through it. Bowden chose to do it to me, but I chose what came after." And that's where power lives, not in avoiding injustice, but in transforming it. The scar became a statute. The viral moment became systemic change, incomplete, imperfect, but undeniable. The reforms are working, but Paige's family is still healing. 1 year later, Oakmont Park, Saturday afternoon. Paige returns to the same spot with Caleb and Zoe. Intentional, therapeutic, reclaiming the space where her children's tears fell. The park has changed. Near the playground stands a monument, black granite, simple inscription, in memory of every person profiled, detained, or dismissed for existing while different. May we build a world where dignity is universal, not earned. May 2025. Fresh flowers rest at its base. Always. The twins have changed too. Therapy helped. Time helped. But they're different children, more aware, less innocent. Lesson learned the hard way. Zoe notices a new black family setting up nearby. Nervous glances, cautious movements. "Mommy, should we go say hi so they know it's safe?" Paige's heart swells. Her daughter learned empathy from trauma. They walk over. The mother recognizes Paige immediately. I saw the video. You're the reason we felt safe coming here." Paige smiles gently. "I'm just someone who had a platform. You always belonged here." The women talk. Kids play, no officer's circle. The park feels different now. Bennett arrives, FBI Special Agent Bennett now. He meets Paige at the monument, full circle. "Graduated top of my class. They asked me to speak at graduation. I told your story. Half the cadets cried. You could have told your own. You risked everything. I did what you already knew I would. You saw something in me I didn't see in myself." Silence. Comfortable, reflective. "Do you still get angry?" Bennett asks. "Every day. But I also get hopeful. Every day. Both can be true." He hesitates. I heard Bowden's working security at a warehouse now, night shifts. Barely making rent. Paige nods slowly. Lesson learned. Hard way. You ever think about, no. Her voice is firm but not harsh. He had 22 years to learn. He chose not to. Some people only learn when they lose everything. As sunset approaches, Paige sits alone. She thinks about her mother, who cried for 20 minutes after the video went viral. Her brother, now they know what we've always known. The strangers who shared their stories, the reforms working, the ones failing, the long road ahead. She's made peace with complexity. It hurt. It helped. Both are true. Caleb approaches as they pack up. Mommy, do you still love the police? No simple answer exists. I love what police are supposed to be, people who protect everyone. I don't love when they forget, and I work every day to help them remember. Are you still a police? FBI. A little different. But same idea, I protect people. Even bad people? Everyone, that's the job. Zoe joins. Even the officer who hurt you? Paige pauses. Truth, but gentle truth. I protected him from himself. Showed him what he was doing was wrong so he couldn't hurt anyone else. That's protection too. He lost everything, but maybe he learned. Hard way, but learned. Paige's phone buzzes. Work email, another case, another officer, another family. She sighs. The work never ends, but Caleb grabs her hand. Can we come back next week? Paige looks at her son. At the park where they once cried, now reclaimed. Yes, baby, every week if you want. Walking to the car, Paige sees a white woman eyeing a black teenager skateboarding. The woman reaches for her phone. Paige walks over calmly, shows her badge. FBI, that young man is skateboarding. That's not illegal. If you call the police on him for existing, you'll be filing a false report. Do you understand? The woman nods quickly, puts her phone away. Paige addresses the teenager. You're good. Enjoy your day. He skates away, relieved. Real authority doesn't need to announce itself. It just needs to show up. If Paige's story moved you, understand this. It's not fiction. Every single day, people are profiled, detained, and humiliated for the crime of existing while different. Most don't have badges. Most don't have federal teams arriving to save them. Most suffer in silence. Their stories never going viral, their justice never coming. But change is possible. Real change. Measurable change.